This video is intended to show you how to tie a tie bar bridge on a ukulele. Now, this is not the way to do it. I bought this ukulele today used, and this is how somebody had strung that up. If you don't want to deal with tying with the tie bar, you can use beads. And I have a couple different varieties here, but you can run the string through the holes, over the saddle, through the bridge, out the bottom side, and then slip the string through the bead, and then just tie a double knot like this in it. Just working on a double knot here. Gonna make it bigger, and pull it tight, and that should be big enough to hold the bead into place, and that will work. So that's a real simple solution. A canister of beads, which I think this is like $1.63 at Walmart, and that can be a real easy solution to solving changing strings, especially with people that don't like dealing with it. However, if you want to tie onto your tie bar, this is my little demo piece that I made. I drilled it out so you have 4 holes. I'm not going to do all 4. I'm just going to show you as an example. So let me undo that double knot, which you won't need down here. So what you do is you would bring your string through, and that's where you would slip the bead on and then tie the double loop knot and call it good with a bead. Well, in the same way, you've got to run the string through with the tie bar bridge, but this is how you would do it, and this is how at least I do it. You bring the string back up under. That's a really important part. All right, and then what I do is I bring it under at least twice and then tighten. Does that make sense? And then when you pull it tight, it's going to hold there. Now, what happens with me wrapping it under is that this then points that way. And as I'm a right-handed player, that means that these little ends aren't ever going to stick me in the arm. Now again, you can use a tool and cut off the long ends underneath there. And so let me do that again just so you can see how that works. It's pretty simple again to do a tie bar. So you run the string through the tie bar, and you don't worry about connecting this up to the posts on your tuning pegs yet. You do this side first, and you have some slack, so you don't have to worry about saving too much. Now don't go crazy, but you can have a good amount of extra down here because there's usually enough. But again, you're going to bring the string up around the back, underneath, and then again I tuck it under, and I tend to go twice. And then I pull it tight, and then that's going to hold. And there's nothing that's going to move there. That's set to go, and you do that 4 times. The one that might not be pretty is the C string, and if you're dealing with really thick strings, perhaps on a baritone, those two might not look as pretty as the thinner strings, but they'll work. So that's how you do a tie bar bridge with restringing. And again, the real simple solution is beads, but the solution otherwise, one last time, is you thread your string through the hole, you go up around the back, and then underneath that front lead. And again, I do it twice. I don't have a whole lot of extra there to hold on to get myself there, but that would actually hold too. Now let's put this into real context. So here's that really poorly strung Macala dolphin that I bought today. Now you can take off the strings in a number of ways, but before we do the work, let me show you the tools that I have. And some of these you might not need, but we'll just go over it. First one is I have strings. Most of the time, I like fluorocarbon strings, and these are my favorite Martins. They're available everywhere. I got this pack at Guitar Center today. You can get them online, strings by mail, places like that, your local ukulele dealer, wherever you want to, but you need strings. Second thing that you would want, good investment, is a string winder, and this one has a clipper. You can find these on Amazon. Again, your local dealer will have those, so if you want to, you can wind the pegs with that, and you can either cut old strings or you can snip the ends of new strings with that. So, string winder. A couple other tools you'll want. Tuner, believe it or not, because you want to get in tune. And then a couple other things that are specialized tools that I use. And again, I have a large collection of ukuleles, and my school does too. So I have some steel wool to clean up the frets and the fretboard before I do some other things. So I've got that. I have lemon oil. This happens to be the Stumac. I understand that the Dunlop 66 brand is pretty good too. And a little bit of lemon oil goes a long way on the fretboard. We might even oil up the bridge as we're doing that. And then I have 3 other specialized tools. I have a digital caliper, and that's only because of these particular strings right now, and we'll talk about that in a minute or two. I have one of these, having as many ukuleles as I do, which is a powered version of this. They also sell an adapter like this for regular powered drills, like a cordless screwdriver that you can buy as well. But this was, I don't know, $25 or something off of eBay or Amazon, and it has been a great investment for quickly changing strings. And then the final part with the lemon oil is some paper towels, one to do some application and one to take it off. And you don't need a whole lot, and again, you're not going to use a whole lot of lemon oil. So let's actually do the deed. Now when you're cutting strings, you have 2 options. You can cut the strings, and it depends on how the person before you put on the strings. Now when I show you how I put on the strings on the top, I don't do any double looping in. I find that the strings hold just by twisting, and I'll show you what that's like. And I don't know how this person, there's lots of weird knots and stuff here, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take off the tension off the strings. Might as well. If I play it until they're nice and floppy. Because, if you don't need a string to snap at you or at somebody else or whatever, why deal with it? Okay, next one. And with a ukulele, same with guitar, is generally you want all the strings to wind the same way. So when I press the up button, it's always going to turn counterclockwise. When I press the down button, it's always going to turn clockwise. So you can always be tightening in the right direction. Now, if I get these loose enough, I could slit them off and see if I can get them off. But if the person has done what they did here, and they've tied a knot in the string, which is not required, then I have to go to cutters and cutting these, because I'm not going to be able to get them off. So I'm going to do that first. And you can see that little pieces went flying, and you need to make sure that nothing is left in the tuning head, so you got to get all the little pieces out. So that's that one. This one actually I could go looser yet, but just want to get it to the end here. I just hope that these people didn't recently put on these strings, because I would have put on other strings otherwise. I just like fluorocarbons. Nothing wrong with the ukuleles, but just not my favorite string. Trying to let you see here what I'm doing. And then finally, this last string. So all this tying of the string in the peg hole isn't needed. Now, again, some of the reputable ukulele dealers do that. I have strung hundreds of ukuleles, and I've never had one let loose on the top, and that includes super thin high C strings and other things. So got to make sure that all the little parts are out of the way, just because you want it to be nice and clean. And that allows us to go down here. Now, the way that they tied these, I can get them out, so that's good news. Sorry about bumping the camera there. And I think there's a chance that they strung these on the wrong side, and that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. You've got to make sure that you string them 1, 2, 3, 4 the way that they're intended, although the Martin package right now, and this probably is only a temporary situation with the Martin. Oh, by the way, if you can see this, I think you can, there's a little red tip on the ukuleles that lets you know which string you're putting where, which is kind of a nice feature. Fluorocarbons can't really do that. And there's their little happy dolphin friend. Trying to get this out. I'm just going to temporarily take out the bridge, or the saddle, sorry, so I can really get at this here. I'm going to oil it in a second anyway. I'm almost there. There you go. Okay, so now I have a clean fretboard, and I have a clean dolphin. Now, your nut may also fall off if it's loose. Cala and the Macala brand tends to glue those on, so it shouldn't cause a problem. But this fretboard's a little dirty, so what you can do is, and this dolphin down here is just fine, but you can take really fine steel wool and you can clean all the frets, and they will shine up really nice. You can even clean the fretboard while you're doing it, so you can get in there and get your finger in the corner and just clean them all up. This isn't going to hurt anything. This is a rosewood fingerboard. They're incredibly tough. And again, if you're using the really fine steel wool, it's not going to cause any damage. It's just going to clean it up. You can see there's like that stuff. There was like a stain right there. And when I sand it, it's gone. So all these frets in just a second here are going to be nice and shiny, like it's a brand new instrument. And then I just blow that off, and I blow off the steel dust down there. Some of the more famous ukulele dealers will use a shop vac at that point. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get a little bit of fret oil. And the secret here is that a little bit goes a long way. So you can see I barely got that wet, but that will be enough fret oil to let me just oil these open wood things. Now again, this is a, the Dolphin is a laminate uke, kind of. The top is wood, but the back and sides are plastic. The neck is wood, the fretboard is wood, and they're remarkably tough, great little beginner instruments, particularly if they're set up. Some are not set up so well, so I always suggest going to a dealer that will set them up for you as part of the purchase price. Not all local dealers will, so you may want to check online with the dealers that will carry these entry-level instruments, like MIM's Ukes and the Uke Republic. For example, MIM's philosophy is that if you have a person that has a beginner, even with a beginner uke, she's going to take the time to do a setup for the same, no extra charge, because she wants people to continue to play down the road. So now the fretboard is oiled. I could let that soak for a while, but I'm just going to wipe off any excess. There's not a whole lot. I'm also going to do that on our little Dolphin on the top. And then I'm going to make sure the saddle goes the same way. Although with a Cala, saddle. There's really not any special end. It's completely reciprocal both ways. So when I thread the strings, they're going to go through the holes there. They're going to go over the saddle through there. That's not really a surprise. But here's what I need the digital caliper for. Martin used to sell strings in packaging like this. In fact, if you go to the store, you might still see them. But this last year, they added a new series of strings, and they changed the packaging. So they have a different non-pure fluorocarbon, like these, which I don't use, that are being made actually by Ukulele for Martin. That's something that's public knowledge. But they mislabeled the sizes. Now, there's a size chart here. The A, which is string 1, is supposed to be 0.049 millimeters. String 2 is supposed to be 0.64. String 3 is supposed to be 0.86. And then string 4 is supposed to be string 0.56. So really, in size, it's smallest, next smallest is 4, 2, then 3. But they kind of mispackaged these guys. And I don't know how long this is going to be true, but we're going to double check because we don't want to install the wrong size. Now, even though the front says 4th and it says 0.56, which is right according to there, the 3rd says is 0.86, which it says it's right. The 2nd is 0.64, which is supposed to be right. And the 1st is 0.49, which is supposed to be right. They have messed some of these up in recent past, and I want to make sure that I put them the right way. So we're going to have to check each of these. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. And this is 4. And right now, this packaging looks like it might be right. The last one I had was wrong, and we can double check the sizes just to make sure. So this is where a digital caliper comes in. Most people aren't going to have one of these around, but I bought one a while ago for ukulele stuff. So anyway, this one is 0.41 compared to the front. That's 0.49, so I'll take that. This one here, I'll get it to 0 again. So it's 0.40, so I'm going to have to double check this one again. 0.30, all right. 0.30, 0.40, so that looks like 4. And then the other two, C, coming in at 0.75, and the E coming in at 0.63. And no, those aren't going to be perfect, and there's going to be human error, but actually, this set of strings was packed right. So it doesn't hurt to double check to make sure. Which way you want to string is completely up to you. But since we're not going to use the beads in this application, maybe I'll make another video showing just how to put on the beads. But you got to get in there straight. Okay, this is string 1. Okay, I'm going to pull it through, and if you remember, I go behind, and then I go underneath twice. 1, 2. I pull it tight, and that one's good and ready to go, and I can snip off that end later. I can go to the top, and then here's my trick. Okay, and again, you'll see some other things. With the A string and the G string, you don't usually need to leave a lot of gap because the strings will stretch. I find that the C and the E will stretch over time, but not during installation. So you can almost have these tight. If you want to, you can put in a little bit of gap, but I hold it at the nut here where it's supposed to be, and then you've got this tail end. As long as the tail end goes around the top, it will do what it's supposed to do. So here is my winder. I'm going to wind it, and you can see that that little loose end is going around the top. And you can go quite a while before you even have to check pitch. So that's nowhere near the A that I'm going to need. Now, as I'm starting this off, and it looks like this tuner is dead, so that's not going to help me at the moment, but that's okay. I can check that later. I don't need to finish this one off right now, but as you can see, it's not going anywhere. This string, it's winding up. It's hard to see in the light, but it's winding up like it's supposed to. The new string is pushing everything else up. There's not a huge amount on the spool. And the only negative there is that the string snaps. If I cut this, I'm going to have to replace the whole string. But again, strings aren't massively expensive either. So I suggest snipping them as you do them, as long as you know that you put them on the right post. Because again, if you put on the wrong one and you cut it, you could impact the next one. But if that one's out of the way, you don't have a weird situation where the next one gets caught. Now this was the E, and we did check the sizes, so I'm glad we took the time to do that. The last pack, I swear, was mispackaged, so I'm glad to see that that pack was not. Right? The string comes through. It goes underneath, and then underneath twice. 1, 2. And I pull it tight. And there you got your little thing on the bottom. We run it up. And this is the occasion where you need to make sure that you leave slack. Now, how much slack do you leave? Quite honestly, if you leave it floppy, just a little bit floppy like this, you'll have more than enough space when you wind it up so that it acts correctly. And then you do, again, this little flap needs to make sure that it goes over the top. So let's do that one. I'm going to have to recharge my string winder pretty soon. Okay, definitely not in tune, but this one's ready to go too. So I might as well clip that one and get that one out of the way. How far do you clip? I don't know. If you can see, I just leave a short amount there. And we have 2 more strings to do. So this is not a terribly long process once you get used to doing it. And you need to not be afraid to do this. A ukulele player should be able to change his or her own strings. I had a student once that, again, around the back, underneath, twice, and this is the one that never looks pretty for me. Sometimes I get tempted just to put in one loop with the C because it never looks nice when I get down here. And there's probably a trick to it, but I just don't know it. But when I pull it tight, you see how that has that little extra twist there? And I've just, over time, just decided, you know what? It works, it holds, I'm not going to worry about it. Run that over to here. And again, winding in the right direction is important, and that's why having the power winder is really a nice feature. Now again, I hold it at the nut, but I need slack. I need slack in the string with the C string and the E string. I just need to make sure that it goes over the edge. Oh, my poor power winder is dying. Usually, today it just ran out, so I'm going to cut that one. We're ready to go with that one. If I feel like I need to take it a little tighter, I can then use my turner. And on this one, just like when you normally tighten, I'd be cranking to the right. It's a little awkward to be cranking right now, just with the camera in front of me. All right, that leaves the final string to put on, the 4th string. And again, we're just walking you through it. You run your string through the hole, around the back, under, and under. Pull tight. Yeah, those nice thin strings look so good when you do them. In the factory, they'll run the tails all to one side. I don't really care about that, and it also makes it kind of difficult to change a single string if you need to do that. Now, typically, if one string breaks, you'll might as well just replace them all. But there are exceptions. So, and again, with the G and the A string, you don't need to put on any extra lead or give in that line to make it go right. So here we go. And I just need to make sure it goes over the top, which it did. And when you do it by hand, it just takes more time. But at this point, that string is going to hold. So all the people that show you have to run the string through a special second way and this and that and the other thing, I don't know what that's all about, because this approach works, and it's worked for hundreds of ukuleles for me. Now, I will still have to go with tuning. Some other people will show you how to stretch strings, and you are welcome to do that if you want. I still think that one of the best ways to stretch a string is just to tune it, play it for a while, tune it, play it for a while, tune it. But a lot of people want to get playing faster, so they try to pre-stretch the strings, and more power to them. That includes some of the ukulele manufacturers that suggest it. Oh, and then finally, if you want to cut the end here, again, I think I've shown this in other videos, but I just follow the end and I cut it. So if you can grab hold of it, it's useful, and you just follow the end and you cut it. You don't want to cut it too short. You also don't want to cut it too long, because again, these little things stick out, and if they stick out at an angle when you cut it, it can hit your hand or your wrist or your arm as you're playing. So I just usually like cleaning them up. Some people leave these, some people leave all the string and just tie it around their tuning heads, whatever. But this ukulele just needs to be tuned up now, and it's ready to go. Typically I'd be doing that much faster without a camera in front of me and without talking through all the steps. But again, showed you at the beginning how to actually tie onto a tie bar, again with the option of using beads if you want, and then took you through the process, what I do in terms of running oil on lemon oil in particular that's made for the occasion. Some people actually use other things, but I do know that actual lemon oil that won't go rancid from places like StewMac or Dunlop 66 are highly recommended. So I oiled the bridge, I oiled the fretboard, and cleaned up the frets with some steel wool, and this ukulele is now ready to be tuned and ready to go. The other thing I could have done is taken some time and cleaned off underneath the strings right here if that was really dirty. So that's something else to think about. Sometimes dust collects in there because you don't touch there. Most of your strumming is up here and picking is here, so you can get dust and stuff here. So sometimes it's worth cleaning up there too. So that is how you string with a tie bar bridge, and how you solve a problem with people that didn't string a ukulele correctly. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more adventures with ukulele.